Hello and welcome back to Microsoft's Flight Simulator. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. Now, for the past 3 videos, I've been trying to go through my first impressions, mentioning some good, seeing quite a bit of bad, but what I have not done is tried out some of the built-in activities that they have in Flight Simulator. So, for example, you can see here on the top left sort of screens, top right screen, what do you call these? Windows, divisions, that's what it is. You see this Courchevel current live event landing challenge. So let's have a look. We're going to be looking today at what that one looks like, and we're going to be going into the activities and seeing what they are like. Now, before I do that, I am going to go into the options, go to the controls, and I am going to try and sort out some of the dead zones on this. So I'm not actually sure. Is it control sensitivity here? I'm going to have a look at this sensitivity and try and figure out what, because I found that in testing this, the sensitivity of the controls were actually very, very sensitive. So I'm going to look at trying to figure that one out a little bit there, and I suppose that's going to do. Right, before we go to the intro and actually get into this, I'm also going to apply and save. I'm also going to respond to a comment. Now, normally I respond to comments by typing out responses, but I think this one deserves a response on with me actually doing this on video. So, I was called an X-Plane fanboy. I'm just going to clear this one up here. Yes, I do play X-Plane. I have been predominantly playing X-Plane for the past, I would say 2.5 years. Does that class me as an X-Plane fanboy? Well, I have probably around 500 hours in X-Plane, maybe a lot, maybe less, in fact, probably less than 500 hours in X-Plane in the few years that I have been playing it. I own Flight Simulator 2002, 2004, Flight Simulator 10, Flight Sim World, and now Flight Simulator, this new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I have near enough 8,000 hours of flight time in those various flight simulators, and the flight simulators themselves have helped me with my degree in aerospace engineering, with my avionics modules, my aircraft performance modules, to a degree my aerodynamics modules, things like that. I am very grateful to Microsoft for the flight simulator, or the flight simulators that they have been developing since the 1980s. If anything, I am a flight simulator fanboy, not an X-Plane fanboy. I do not even have X-Plane 11 on mobile, as such a fanboy would have. So hopefully that responds to your comment and clears a few things up. What I will not do though is hide any problems. I may explain away a problem, say okay, this is a problem, but maybe it's for this reason, but I will not hide a problem. If there's a problem and I find that it's just flat out wrong, then it's flat out wrong. There is no arguing against it. And whether or not other content creators do that or do not do that, or maybe they just do not see the problem, that's fine, that's theirs. But on this channel you will see everything as it is. You will see the good and you will see the bad. With that being said, let's try and find a whole bunch of good on Courchevel, and let's see if I can land this aircraft. So here we are loading up for Courchevel, and you can see here it's saying we've got to come in at 80 knots, slow down to 72 knots and land on runway 23. It does not give me any additional information. What I will say is, and one of the things that you're going to notice here is one of the problems that I came up with these, or I've seen with these events, is it's going to throw me into the sim momentarily. You will see it. There it is. There it goes. And it just throws you in without having paused it or anything. Your throttles are not ready. Nothing is really ready. So what I've got used to is, in fact I've done this a few times, this is not the first recording for this, I actually came across a couple of bugs in the previous recording and I've decided to redo it, just to give it the benefit of the doubt and restart the sim just in case it was just something that was just bugging out and required a simple restart. So if we come across the bugs again, then I will obviously point them out and say, yep, there you go, that's a bug. But I just wanted to make sure that it's not down to the sim. Sorry, not down to the sim, down to my computer and my controls. So what I have found is that on the first attempt, you will notice that things will stutter a lot more. Perhaps it's loading the scenery in, which is, I guess that is sort of understandable. What you also need to do is you need to prepare yourself for where your throttle needs to be and where you need to be in with regards to your... Oh, there's the airport. Where you need to be in regards to holding the control stick, whether you have a yoke or a side stick, the Airbus side stick from Thrustmaster, or something like mine, a joystick like the X52, you know, HOTAS controllers, whatever it is. You need to be prepared to have that ready in the position so that your aircraft doesn't go flying around everywhere. So you need to just be aware of that. It's annoying. It is very annoying. I would have much preferred the old Flight Simulator one where you had Rob. It would have been lovely to have Rob, and he'd have control of the aircraft, and then he'd give the control of the aircraft to you once you are ready. Or just save it, have it in a pause state, and so your aircraft configuration is saved. Have it in a pause state, and then use that pause state to help you out. Let's see what happens here. That was a decentish landing. That was quite decent. Apparently that was not decent at all. Apparently my landing smoothness was really harsh as well. Okay, so it wasn't a decent landing. I'm surprised that thump didn't feel as violent as I had before. So this is where I'm going to point out another problem. I don't mind this. This whole challenge thing is, for people who like challenges, great. As you can see, I do not really care. I'm not going to do this over and over again. That's probably a second, I think that was a second or third attempt in the video that I recorded that I scrapped to get that. But landing precision. So what is the landing precision? It's that blue box. It's just saying, are you landing dead on your marks in that blue box? Do I think the blue box is a bit odd? Yes, it does sort of give you the touchdown zone, but it is a little bit small. But it is a landing challenge at the end of the day. I suppose if they had a massive blue box, that would be no landing challenge. The second one I'm going to point out is landing smoothness. So landing smoothness is another good one. I do like the idea of this. You want to figure out how smooth your landing is. So when your wheels touch down, how harsh is that landing? 600 foot per minute is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. I'd want to be checking the undercarriage really of this aircraft. So that's absolutely fine. You're going to notice I did not mention the middle one. So before I mention the middle one, first of all, I have no idea what this plus is. I've not been able to click it. It seems to just be embedded nicely into that grey line there. So I have no idea what it is or what it means. This cross here though, that's clearly going across the L there, and it's cutting into that bar there. I do not have a clue what that is. But anyway, putting those two aside, these two unknowns, this one here is the one that really, really bugs me. As an engineer, and as somebody who has been in the aerospace industry, in that aerospace realm, and aeronautical engineering, avionics, and aircraft performance, and all of that kind of stuff, what it's looking for there is centerline deviation. How far to the left or the right of the centerline were you when you landed? It is not looking for what they have called ground roll. The ground roll is from where you take off, so where you pop your throttles on, so you're onto the runway, you've popped your throttles up, you start rolling along the runway, picking up speed up to the point where your wheels leave the runway. So you've rotated, and about a second later your wheels have left the runway. That distance is your ground roll, not what they are saying there. Now, someone's probably going, Why are you being pedantic for? Why are you being nitpicky? Well, to be completely honest, that's not nitpicky. This is a simulator. You cannot make a fundamental mistake in avionic terms in a simulator and then expect it on a full release. If this was in the alpha, hey, you know what? It's a bug. That's fine, they can fix it. If it was in the beta, again, potentially, yeah, you can fix it. This is a full release sim. Now, the reason this also bugs me is because I've done teaching. Now, a student could pick up this sim. A young kid, you know, maybe 13, 14 years old, he or she might want to pick up this sim. Here we go, I want to try the challenges. Kids love challenges. I'm going to try the challenge. Gets down there, does this, and sees landing precision, ground roll, and landing smoothness. They are going to now think ground roll is the centerline deviation. You have now just misinformed a kid. This is a simulator. You do not do that. So I'm just very, as you can see, I'm irked about this. Probably more than their photogrammetry city mess up with New York. I am more annoyed about that wording there. You do not make fundamental mistakes in a sim like that. That's just unacceptable. Anyway, let's do this again. I'm just going to do it one more time. Let's try and get a better one. I'm going to press ready to fly and just do that. There we go. Just going to try and fly it out. Now the other bug hasn't arisen again, so I think that must have just been a bug with. I think that must have just been a bug with the sim and just required a restart. So it seems to be okay now. So I'm not too fussed about that. And just to quickly explain, the bug was that the throttles just stopped responding. It just put the throttles to 0 and that was it. I couldn't do anything. I thought maybe it's something that's gone wrong with the aircraft. Maybe it ran out of fuel. Checked the fuel, had half a tank of fuel. It just stopped responding to all my throttle inputs. The difference is it was actually moving the throttle, what do you call it? The lever. So the lever was moving in and out as my controller was moving in and out. My throttles were moving up and down, but it just did not recognize that input, which is very, very strange. Right, there's the runway. Let's see if I can improve this a little bit better. Now, I could go for a full flaps landing, but when it comes to full flaps on this aircraft, it becomes incredibly draggy, and that causes problems. So that is why I'm preferring to land as I am. With the full flaps, it's just the drag on it is insane. Right, let's look for a better landing, and then we'll swap to a different aircraft. I know exactly which aircraft I want because, as I said, I tried to record this beforehand, and the bugs just were there. And yes, I should be turning just a little bit earlier, but it's okay. So that was far to left of the center line, but I think my landing rate was a lot nicer. There you go, that was the kind of smoothness I want from my landing. Landing precision was good, but that was the ground roll. It says ground roll. Centerline deviation was appalling. If I had that on the center, that would have been a score that went into the millions. But I'm not going to go back. As I said, I tend not to chase these numbers, but for those who do, that's great. The fact that that is available, lovely for those who do go ahead and chase the numbers. Let's go into the activities, and I want to do the landing challenge, famous landing challenge at New York Kennedy. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to fly the jumbo jet. Now, one thing that does annoy me, another thing that does annoy me is, first of all, this 161.40 knots does not seem correct. I'm just not sure about that. It does give us the wind, which is lovely, 340 at 15. So that's lovely, but it gives us no other information. How far out are we starting? What is our altitude? What kind of descent rate? We do not even get tuned into the ILS, so there's no way I can tell. The puppy indicators are not visible. It doesn't make for a very good approach, because especially with a large aircraft, or any aircraft really, you want to be as stable as far out as you can be. Now I'm going to let this play, and I want you to watch something. Watch first of all, the view is also badly done. You can see, look at the speed it's just gone up to. 200, 210, and then it drops it back down, and there you go, you're now flying. Not exactly stable. This is the kind of view you should be having. Maybe not quite there we go, something like that. And I'm now going to try and restabilize the aircraft and bring it in for a landing. So first of all, the first thing I'm going to do is hold it at around, so about 2.5 degrees should give us well, I suppose we need to bring it up to 5 degrees as we are slowing down, but it should allow us to bring it to 160, and then I'm going to bring out the landing gear, and there it is, and we'll begin the descent. Flaps to full, landing gear out. Now it looks like we are about 4 miles out. That's what it looks like. And now we'll try and bring ourselves into a descent. Now I know the puppy indicators are out there, but I cannot see them. They're there, and it just looks like they haven't rendered in. What I need to do is try and stabilize myself as best as I can. Now this aircraft is not one that, I'll be honest, I've flown this a couple of times in a sim, a professional sim that is. The last time I flew it in a home sim was a very, very long time ago, and I want to show you something. It said 140 knots, right? Now for the descent at 140 knots, it looks like I'm pitching my nose to about 7.5 degrees. 1,000 feet confirmed, misapproach altitude not set. It looks like I'm pitching the nose to about 7.5 degrees. That's not right. You should not be pitching the nose that high on a descent. So I'm just not sure why they've got that. And also my throttles are now at what, 60% almost. I'm just doing this the way they've said to do it. It isn't quite right. Also, I'm not sure why the aircraft wants to drift to the right, given that the nose it should be pushing us to the left. If anything, I should have a slight push. I should have to push the aircraft slightly to the right, not what I've done. Now I'm going to set the auto brakes to maximum. There you go. And you can see now we are. Ooh, okay. The aircraft is, one thing I will give them is they've got the sensitivity of the Boeing, right? That's for sure. The 747 is fairly sensitive when it comes to pitch change, but they haven't got the engines right. And I understand that this is a default aircraft. That's fine, but oh wow. Go on, 200, that's it. See, this is now flying a little bit better. At the higher speed, it's flying better.
50, 40, 30.
I'm so off here. That was terrible. But that's okay, I'll do that again. And I want to do these just a couple of times just so it shows you. But one thing that I am confused about is, why is that not level? Well, it's gone level now. That's me moving that now. So, well, yes, the ground roll, as it were, the centerline deviation was massive. Precision was good. I'll try that again. Now, the only reason I'm trying that again is because I like the 747. so I want to fly it again. But these values here I do not think are correct, so I'm going to make up my own values. I think I want to land 152 knots. Just by the few runs that I've done, I think 152 knots would be a reasonable landing speed, and I want to be doing 160. I want to do 165 knots on approach. So there we go. And you can see once again it throws us out like this, which I'm never too happy about. Someone's probably going to say, why haven't you set up your custom views? Yeah, they don't work. They just do not work. Right, let's stabilize the aircraft here. That's looking at this a bit better. There we go. I do not want to climb, I just want to slow down to 165, then we'll begin our descent. Go on, 170, no. Generally with the aircraft like this, you probably... There we go, now I've got the slight push. There's 165. Now we'll bring the aircraft into a descent. Let's go for probably 1,000 foot per minute. No, it's probably about 800 foot per minute actually. Just trying to guess this is not ideal. And then it's coming down to 160, that's fine. Now, as we go over that section just there, I'm going to go, in fact no, because this is an aircraft where things take time, I'm going to go maximum flaps now. And one thing they have got right is the flaps do take time to come out, which is great. I'll bring the landing gear out as well. I'm going to leave my throttles at 46%. And the drag, now the drag from the wheel and things like that does not make as much of a difference to the aircraft speed as you might think. This aircraft is fairly aerodynamic, so the speed differential is not as great. You get a bigger offset by lifting the nose, but you can see there my nose is now 5 degrees up and I'm still descending, so that tells me how slow that is. So now I'm going to actually speed up to the correct speed. That's what I want, which is I think about 150, 152. See, that seems like that's... I think the aircraft is pretty heavy, and that's just not giving me the approach I would like. Nevertheless, the bringing it into Kennedy is nice. That's for sure. It is nice bringing it into Kennedy, and the speed does oscillate a lot. The responsiveness of the engines is something that is incorrect, as I think I might have mentioned that the engines do not respond that quickly. This is almost an immediate response on the engines, which is not correct. As we come over the runway, it seems to shove us a little bit, but that's okay.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Oh, that's another poor one. I do not have the reversers or anything set up, but it really doesn't matter. We're on auto brakes anyway. Oh, actually, that was a manual braking. Never mind. Should I try that one more time? I am determined to try and do this better, but I just need to figure out the speeds. There you go. That's another. See, landing precision's fine. Smoothness is fine. It's just that ground roll that it calls. Centerline deviation. See, that's the problem. Now I've seen it, I'm saying ground roll. It's wrong. Get that out of your head. It is not ground roll, and it never will be. So what I'll do is I'll try this one more time, and then I'm going to try the Airbus, the aircraft that I'm not good at. So I'm thinking this is going to go faster than I want it to be. There, like that, look down like that, there we go. Right, 2,000, There we go. That's a better start. Slight push. I'm going to actually stick in a little bit of rudder there for that. Just a tiny bit to help us out. 169. See, that is a much better descent now. Just trying to manage that, and I think... Whoop. Okay. Sensitivities still need a little bit of work, but I think about there, that's the kind of... I think that's the kind of speed I would like on this approach. Yeah, I think that is a much better speed on this approach. Again, the aircraft is sensitive to pitch, but this does... The aircraft feels far too responsive here, I suppose, which is the strangest thing. Right, let's go ahead and do gear down, flaps 30. At this point, let's bring it down for our final approach speed, which, as I said, I'm doing about 155-ish. I really do not fancy doing anything below that. It just does not feel right. 1,000 feet to go. Yeah, see, it does not feel right below that. This feels okay. This one feels okay. It's very difficult to keep it stable, but I'm pretty sure I can dial that out with sensitivity, so that is not something I'm going to fault the sim on. Although I do feel like the aircraft is far too jittery. I do feel that. I do certainly feel like the aircraft is far too jittery. We are approaching the runway nicely, I think. But it keeps pushing me over, that's the other thing. 400, that's fine. We do have 4 reds now. So as you can see, even at this altitude, I mean this speed, the attitude of the aircraft is just not what I would expect. Or what I've actually experienced. 200. 100. Shove me over again.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Right, please tell me that was a better landing. There we go. Just on the brakes, nice and easy. I think that might have been a better landing. A little bit heavy though. I think that was a little bit heavy. Apparently that wasn't a better landing. What? I don't know. I don't know anymore. That just doesn't make any sense anyway. Let's look at the last one that I'm going to do. I'm just going to give it one try. And that's going to be the Airbus. I might give it 2 tries, but very, very quickly. Because I'm trying to get this video. If you've seen this video on the Wednesday, or its release on the Wednesday, great. It might be an hour late, but great. I've been trying to record this and get this correctly done in time. 160-140. No. 2 aircraft cannot have the exact same approach like that. No 2 aircraft could say 160 there, 140 there. Doesn't happen. 190 at 8 also, another thing to take into account is for winds like this you do want to add 5 knots, or in some cases you can add 10 knots depending on the stiffness of the wind. But there we go, that is what we've got. So it's loading. One thing I do have to credit Flight Simulator for, the loading is not bad. Loading times are not bad at all. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, the speed, the loss in speed and the climb. Why are you climbing? You're supposed to be in a descent. So interestingly, on this one, we're much lower and we have our landing gears are already out on this. I'm going to go auto brakes max. Disable auto throttle as well. And yeah, it's interesting. Again, the pitch of the aircraft does not seem to be matching the attitude, that is, of the aircraft. It does not seem to be matching what I would expect. We've got 5 there we go. That's better. We're doing 160 knots ish. We're at 5 degrees of pitch, and it's doing weird things. 1,000 feet to go. I suppose mid approach is 5,000 feet. Sydney does look nice though. Sydney certainly looks nice. Right, now I'm going to bring this down. So I need to push this nose down, but it does not want to. I'm not very good with Airbuses, I will be honest, so I'm not going to. This does feel more like an Airbus though. I'm not going to say that this is a Sim's fault. No. I take fault where I'll take the blame where I'm supposed to take the blame, and I'm not good with Airbus at all. But I have flown Airbuses, and I have had a former British Airways pilot show me in professional sims how to fly Airbuses.
500.
I'm not very good at them, as I said, but this does feel a bit more like an Airbus. It certainly does feel a bit more like an Airbus. There we go. Let's see what we get here. Go on, keep coming, keep it coming. 100.
60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard 5.
That was really bad, but I'm down. That was really bad, I will admit. But I am down. And there we go. Let's see what kind of points I got. I've done this one once as well. So let's see. Apparently that was really good. I'll be honest, I thought that was really poor. But apparently that was really, really good. So there you go. There you have it. That's some of the activities. You can go ahead and do the activities yourself if you've got the title. Ignore the word ground roll. I don't care what the sim says. It's wrong. It's centerline deviation. Ground roll is something completely different, and it's still bugging me right now through this entire video. The 747 feels like a heavy aircraft. Does not really feel like a 747 in terms of how it flies. It feels like a heavy aircraft that seems really twitchy. 747's never been twitchy. A 737, yes, they can be really twitchy. 747 is not really twitchy. The attitudes and stuff did not seem to line up properly as well. The Airbus feels a lot more like an Airbus than the 74 feels like a jumbo jet. So they have done a much better job, I think, on the A320 than they have on the 747. The A320 still is not that great, but it is better than the 747. So if you want to fly, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but if you want to fly a jet in Flight Simulator, I probably recommend the A320 over the 747. I'll have to check out the 787 and see what that is like, but so far the A320 beats the jumbo. In Flight Simulator, not in real life. Jumbo wins every time. Just in terms of majesty, I'm sure the A320 is more fuel efficient and all that kind of stuff. And plus, I like Boeings. I just like the direct feel of a Boeing as opposed to the sluggish fly-by-wire feel of an Airbus, which, if you've only flown Airbus, you tend not to notice, but if you jump from Boeing to Airbus, you do immediately notice that difference. That is all from me. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified when I upload more episodes. If you can support me on Patreon, please do so at www.patreon.com/ecgadget. Your support would be massively appreciated. It would really, really help me out. And also, you can find me on social media at ecgadgetlp for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me. My voice is getting a little bit sore, still not completely recovered. And I will see you next time in Microsoft Flight Simulator.